Okay, Chair, just to confirm, we're now live streaming on YouTube. I'll hand the meeting over to yourself.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. Good evening and welcome to East Devon District Council's Leisure Strategy Delivery Forum meeting on the 16th of September 2025. I'm Chair Councillor Sam Hawkins, and I'd like to welcome anyone watching the meeting via the live streaming. May I remind members that the Code of Conduct applies throughout this meeting. We also reserve the right to remove and disconnect any participant who is disrupting the meeting by whatever means. Please turn any telephone devices off or to silent. In the event of a break in the internet connection, please bear with us as we try to reconnect. After 15 minutes, if we are not able to reconnect, we will consider the meeting adjourned and reconvene at a later date. If you wish to comment, please raise your electronic hand and wait to be called. And we will now start the meeting by doing a roll call of forum members here present. Amanda, do you want to do declarations at the same time, Amanda?
Yes, if I could do both, that would be appreciated. Yeah, thank you. Yep. So starting with yourself, Chair.
I'm present and have no declarations.
Okay, Councillor Hayward.
Present, no declarations, thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Present, no declarations.
And Councillor Goodman.
Yes, present. In I think I might have a non-pecuniary interest, or whatever they call it nowadays, on agenda item 10, because I'm a member of the Sidmouth Croquet and Tennis Club.
Okay, and are there any other councillors in the meeting who wish to declare an interest, please? No? Okay. Thank you, Chair. Back to you.
Thank you. Agenda item 1, minutes of the previous meetings held on the 11th of June 2025 and the 19th of June 2025. If there are any members with any comment on the minutes, please raise your electronic hand. If there are no issues, I will assume that the content is agreed. I see no hands, so I'll take that as agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 2, apologies. Amanda, do you want to go through the list?
Thank you. Right, so we have apologies from Councillor Bloxham and Councillor Loudon, as well as Councillor King and Councillor Arnott. Are there any more that you're aware of, Chair?
I've got Councillor Hookway.
Oh, yes.
As well.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you. Agenda item 3 would be declaration of interest, which we've done. Agenda item 4, public speaking. There are no members of the public registered to speak. Agenda item 5, matters of urgency. There are none. Agenda item 6, confidential and exempt items. There are 2 that are listed as agenda items 12 and 13. And agenda item 7, LED facilities and activities report June to August 2025. I've got on my list that Andrew's going to present that report.
Yes, Chair, that's correct. Yeah, thank you very much. Obviously, some of you might not know me, so I'm Andrew Dare. I'm a replacement for Matt today, and I oversee the EDDC leisure contract. Obviously, as part of the review, I'll just give a quick overview. It's been quite a challenging 3 months for us, especially with challenges in competition, especially in the Exmouth and Honiton area, with Pure Gym coming in at Exmouth later in this month, who's kind of a big operator across the country. We've also seen smaller operators in Honiton and Sidmouth increase their operating space. So it has been a challenging 3 months, with our membership kind of slightly decreasing by the end of August. Hasn't seen a massive issue with our membership yield, but still is causing concerns as we move in the future. To combat that, we're launching a price-led campaign which started today, so trying to engage new members into our facilities. As well as that, we're launching an engagement campaign to support our current members to make sure that they drive attendance across the next four weeks. It's been really great regarding our digital strategy. We've looked to improve the app to help improve our kind of customer experience for our members, and I think that's had a great impact on the members and attendance figures through that. We launched over the summer the Jump Into Summer campaign. So first time we've kind of launched something across all sites, combining the sites, and we look to promote that through the primary times. Again, that's has a positive impact on attendance figures. As you can see, they've been quite stable over the August period. Linking into the community team, we've obviously started to and continue to deliver some great activities in the community. One of the key points is working with the public health team to support health checks with manual workers in Honiton, Axminster and Exmouth, and these included blood pressure, nutrition advice and in-body. We've also completed walk leader training in the Memory Cafe in Sidmouth to help volunteers launch their own carers dementia walk, which I think is a real positive for the community there. The only kind of downside, our MPS has slightly dropped to 45, benchmark 40, so still higher than normal. And this has been mainly due to a few issues with the building, with cold showers at Exmouth, which is affecting the scores on a regular basis. But overall in the summer, it was positive. Attendance for the gym was up, Group X was up, but we had a slight drop in casual swimming, which is due to obviously if it's a hotter summer, then obviously it tends to happen. We tend to get less people swimming as they go to the beach. So yeah, that's just a brief overview of the report. But if anybody has any kind of questions, happy to answer these or come back to you and answer it.
Thanks. Is there a particular, I guess maybe not quite a quick win, but there's something that the council needs to be doing better in terms of those, like, you talked about the detractors on MPS around changing rooms and that, or is it just kind of in the natural flow of things?
I think it's a natural flow. I think it's aging of the buildings, and I think we're working closely with Mike and George on that. But there, yeah, has been especially the showers at Exmouth is a theme that we're trying to deal with the issue, and then obviously some things will affect other things, which then causes a knock-on effect. But yeah, it's due to attendance as well. If it's busy, obviously it impacts the centres a lot more as well.
Thanks for that. And also the key ultimately is that the MPS is still above benchmark, and I think that benchmark's a market-wide one as well. So that's quite positive.
Yeah, it's still it's a countrywide.
Great. I don't see any other questions.
Can I
Mike?
Come in,
yes.
Sam? Yeah, Sam, just a small point, really. My boys were down here over the summer, and they wanted to go and play pickleball. And I mention this because of the difficulty of booking courts. They had to ring up. They couldn't book online. It was so complicated and difficult. They booked by ringing up. Now, that must be costly having to ring up. And I just wonder whether that could be looked at, because I'm sure they're not the only ones like that.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. We're looking at our systems and our processes in the back end, and at the moment with pickleball with sports booking, it's a little bit more complicated than the gym. So therefore, we have to look at phone booking. But as part of our digital strategy in the future, we would look to bring it all online, because obviously we want people to book instantly. It's something in our development plan. So yeah, I totally agree. It's in our development plan.
Thank you, because it's a growing sport for they're in their 30s, but they love playing it. It's growing.
Yeah, we've launched it across all our sites now, and pickleball is massive now with the younger and the older generation as well. So it's a great sport. It's a great sport.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Any other questions on that item? Otherwise, no, I think we'll move on to the agenda item 8, then LED KPI dashboard. Back with you, Andrew, if you've got anything to add to that.
Not really, because obviously I picked some of the figures up in the presentation before. But yeah, if anybody's got kind of any major questions, it obviously shows year on year there. It shows the MPS, so it shows the gym attendance and Group X attendance. So yeah, unless anybody's got anything, I tried to put that into kind of a report before.
All right, thanks. I know last time we talked about, I think it was Axminster not feeding in, and I think there was some technical issues that I think there was a conversation going away offline to see if anything could be done with that. Did that progress much since our last meeting?
I don't know, because obviously it wasn't here, but I'll take that away and get feedback to add in Axminster Leisure Centre into the report. So yeah,
I think it was I can't remember now. It was some technical issue that just meant the licensing or something meant it wasn't reporting correct.
Okay.
Yeah, my chair. Just to add to that, Andrew, it's to do with the licensing between the sites in Axminster that we were going to look at. I think it's slightly more complicated than we thought. And as Andrew's mentioned, as part of our digital strategy, we're looking at upgrading the whole leisure management system. So we're hoping that will help us. So we've got a slightly different arrangement, which should give us a bit more flexibility around locations. But it's on the agenda. It's in the minutes from the last meeting, so we'll pick it up. We'll be picking it up.
Correct. Thanks, Holly. That's helpful. On that basis, then I think we'll move on to agenda item 9, update on Cranbrook Leisure Health and Wellbeing Campus. That's over to you, Mike, I believe.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members and visitors tonight. Cranbrook Leisure Health and Wellbeing Campus is the latest update for members. The project, as he said at the time, it was in the verge of completing, has now completed the feasibility study for stage 1, which involved the design, site constraint mapping, site cost estimating, and a revenue model. So we're now at the stage, when I say RIBA, which is the Royal Institute of British Architects, they set a set of guidelines that help support construction projects as they go through. So we're now at the position of stage 2 and 3, which takes us through to a detailed planning application. So we've gone out to tender to advance for the design of the leisure centre and to pull that information together forward to a planning stage. It will also pave the way for a tender to be able to bid for the leisure centre costs, which is subject to budget approval. All these activities that are taking place now will place the council in the best possible position to progress with the delivery of a project in Cranbrook. And they're working to deliver that within line of the updated leisure addendum, which is the forum is asked to endorse onto Cabinet. The council's leisure and built facility strategy was approved in October 22 and contains within it a recommendation for the leisure centre in Cranbrook and the facility mix. This has now been updated by this addendum, which the forum is asked to take on board because it reflects the latest population and leisure industry guidelines. It should be noted that officers are working with NHS Devon to work on the business case for the health facility, which is a key component of the campus, and both officers and key members are involved in that project. In addition, Devon County Council are continuing to commit to the integration of space within the leisure centre to operate the library and youth services and the family hub, and are now seeking approval within their own governance structure of that approach. So, yeah, I can't take much of the credit for this. There's been a very strong project team led by Rachel Papworth, who has to take driving this project forward with the support of the group and councillors as well. So happy to hand back to the chair now if you've got any questions you'd like to ask.
Thanks, Mike. One thing I did want to query on the covering report, the 3.4, it talks about there being 4.75 million in today's money, but in the addendum that's with us, it says a different bit, 1.12. It says there's 5 million that's indexed. So I just wanted to know which figure's correct and if it is when that indexation started from, just to get a sense of what the figure is.
I will double check that, Sam, and I'll get back to you. Thank you for pointing that out. I guess at the time when the addendum was written and when the reports are updated, figures get changed. So I'll go back and check that and I'll consolidate what that figure should be.
Yeah, and I think we get the addendum, if whatever the figure ends up being, if we just note when that indexation started, because obviously if it started a few years ago, it's going to be a much bigger figure than if it started last week. Ian, your hand's up.
Yeah, sorry, questions. I just wanted to be clear. Are we just planning here to build a leisure centre, or are we building a health centre as well? And if so, are we expected to pay for that? Because we don't usually pay for health centres, etc. So I just want to be clear. Are we doing that? And for what we're talking about, 6-lane pool, whatever, 25 metres, you know, according to Sport England, they cost, depending on the size of it, but the biggest one's 14 million, 13 million for something a little bit smaller, depending on what you want to add into it. And the feasibility study that is now complete, when are we likely to see that? Because it's all very well us planning and launching ahead, but we haven't even seen the feasibility study yet of it. So when will we be getting that, please?
Thanks. I'll hand back to Mike on the second 2 points. I think the first question, the answer is ultimately it's a a joint project, ideally between us, NHS, presumably county, to say we all want service providing buildings there. If everybody shares the cost, the economy of the scale means the price of the bricks comes down per person. But
Yeah,
I'll let Mike correct me on that point.
no, I'm sure that's right. But again, are we paying for it at the present time, or are we expecting? Is Devon County Council putting in the pot already?
Mike.
Rest assured, we are very clear that we are only focusing on what we pay in terms of a leisure centre. We have clearly specified in the costings the elements that are Devon County Council and the elements that are the health service. They have their own contributions from the Cranbrook project, Section 106 funding. So they are tapping into those funding streams to cover the elements that relate to health and relate to the library and youth services. So we're specifically focusing for ourselves when we come to present the cost envelope, it will focus on the leisure centre. Just to provide that assurance. I will come back to you when the feasibility study and information will be made more available. I will try and find out that information and get back to you.
Thank you very much. But it is complete now, the feasibility study, so someone has it somewhere.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a question of when it can be distributed, but I will find out.
And when was it completed, please?
It would have been completed very recently because it was in the throes of being completed up to last week. I've only given an update tonight because obviously it had to be completed in order for the tender documentation to be released, which only just happened. So it's all very instantaneous and certainly done since the reports were issued to the forum for tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have we had much input from Sport England at this time? I know obviously the report says we've opened discussions. Has that just been a hi, we want some funding, or has there been more traction to those discussions at this stage?
I think Tim wants to come in. Do you want me to answer that bit Sport England question or first?
Yeah, you're much better placed than me to answer that, Sports England. If you come in, and I was just going to come back in afterwards to respond to Ian, if that's okay.
No problem. Yes, we've been talking very closely with a gentleman called Stuart Makepeace, who's part of the place team at Sport England. I think he covers the region. He covers the Southwest region. So yes, we were probably, I would say, monthly talking to him, and he's been very helpful actually in helping us in terms of best practice and best studies to where else we can get information and what Sport England, if they are in a position to give any funding, what they would like to see. So we are trying to cover what we need for now and what Sport England, if we want to come to the party, what they would expect to see.
Tim, did you want to add?
Yeah, Chair, if I can just come back in response to Councillor Barlow. So we've noted the request to see the feasibility study. There's a further report back to Cabinet. So as you know, we went through Cabinet recently for the recommendation onto Council for the funding to go out to procurement for the consultants. There's a further report coming back. I can't quite remember. I think it's the November cycle. I think I might be wrong. It might be sooner, but I think it's November, whereby we'll be requesting at that stage, it will be around the actual go ahead for the project. So at that stage, it would be absolutely right for the feasibility to be included. We'll just need to consider how we do that in terms of whether it's part A, part B, etc. But we take away the fact that you as members would like to see the feasibility. So that will be the opportunity.
Thank you. Any other comments, queries? If not, I think, Mike, you're looking for a formal proposal, aren't you, that this is recommended to Cabinet?
Yeah, or the leisure addendum. And,
yes, sorry.
Please. Yeah.
Yeah, so the recommendation we've got put to us then is that the forum notes progress being made by the Cranbrook Leisure Centre project team highlights any areas that warrant further discussion, and that the forum recommends to Cabinet and then on to Council they endorse the addendum to the leisure strategy. I'll propose that happily from the chair. I can ask people to remember how to do ticks and crosses, the easiest way. because I don't remember. Found it. It's in the React button. Simon, is that a yes? I think it's only because we're short on numbers. I've got to check.
Yes, yeah, that's fine.
I can see we've got 3 ticks with Simon's as well, so that's passed, Amanda, I think. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll take that as passed. Thank you. We'll go on then to agenda item 10 as an update on the playing pitch audit. That's back over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, again, in keeping with our commitment to the forum, we're just providing an update. The report provides some background around the need for the updated audit, the purpose of it, and how the findings will be used. The report covers what stages have now been completed and what the next steps are. An attachment to the report shows a brief headline summary of what the current supply and demand analysis is showing for East Devon, and it covers all the different sports. What we now need to do is that provides, if you like, a district-wide view, which is slightly skewed because it's the wide geographical spread of a district. So we have asked them to do a series of scenario testings where we look specifically at different areas. So the scenarios are covering a number of sub-areas. It's a bit more detail, but I'm happy to circulate with the minutes of the meeting what the breakdown of the sub-areas are. So they're broken down to the west, central and east and parts of East Devon, which is in keeping with the planning sub-areas. So it's provided some context when it comes to planning for in the future with the local plan. We've gone deeper than that. We've got 8 towns that we're also going to do a deep dive analysis. And that is Exmouth, Honiton, Cranbrook, Axminster, Sidmouth, Seaton, Budleigh Salterton and Otterley St Mary. And the third scenario that we're also testing is for the new community at Markham. Forgive me if I hope I've pronounced that correctly. A number of different scenarios, whether it's 3,000 homes, 8,000 homes or 10,000 homes, so that we're trying to make sure that we future-proof what the demand and need will be for the next few years to help in terms of future provision. It does come with a bit of a health check. Obviously, once we do get the scenario information back, it will be subject to feasibilities and funding and supplies of whether it can actually happen. That's something we will look to test the action plan out with over the next 2 months when we put it together. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. So presumably that's going to be the biggest challenge, isn't it? The funding gap, because ultimately we're going to identify that we need X number of different pitches, but there's presumably only funding realistically is ever going to be 186 SIL and Sport England if they decide to set up a pot like that.
And Football Foundation. The Football Foundation are probably the most wealthiest of national governing bodies, and they have heavily funded the Honiton 3G project. They're now exploring the next priority is Exmouth. And as you say, one thing's the funding, the other thing is the location, is finding suitable sites that can take the traffic of the usage and the floodlights and so on. So yeah, there are a number of different things that we need to consider when we're putting together proposals. So
ultimately the idea is this is our tool to go to the relevant bodies and say, there's a proper strategic identified need for this. It's not just us saying it would be nice to have.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah, I think the key there is just going to be making sure the messaging's right, isn't it? Around ultimately this isn't a document to identify our shortfall, it's our document to be used to make the environment better and obviously fit for purpose.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Does anybody have any queries on this update? Any other areas for further discussion? I think you're getting away with that one, Mike.
Only to Chair, that's the issue. It comes down to, and always come down to, is who's going to pay for them, because through strategic planning and the planning team, there's so much other demand for other infrastructure, and this is key infrastructure. But as soon as you go through affordable homes and road infrastructure, water infrastructure, that pot of available money that you can get through SIL and 106 just just funnels away. And you know, private investment, there's no real money to be made in it. It's valuable amenity for people, and it is the struggle we and our successor authority are going to face: is how do you deliver health and recreation and sport and leisure for your residents whilst you have a £200 million infrastructure gap? Because no one wants to pay, but everyone wants to get the benefit, and you can quite understand why, because you know we all want to do sport and recreation. So really echoing your points, Chair. Nothing more to add than that. Thank you.
No, great, thank you. Councillor John.
Thank you, Chair. It's only a quick question, really. With this that we're looking at with the playing pitch strategies, etc., across the 8 towns, will the town and parish councils be involved in this at all? Will they be asked? Because obviously they're closer to the ground roots as to what the pitches are currently being used for, etc. Will they be involved at all?
Mike?
Yes, they were involved. They were given a questionnaire. This was part of the supply and demand analysis. So, of course, because it's important that they embrace some of the challenges, because they may have some ability to put some still contributions towards it and so on. So yes, it's important that they share and understand and use that evidence base as well. So yes, we have consulted with them, and yes, we will directly contact them once we put in together the final plans, just to make sure that we haven't there aren't any gremlins in the system as we move forward to final approval.
That's right, because presumably the final product is almost like a public document, the demand
Exactly.
base, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think on that basis then we'll move on to agenda item 11, property and FM team update report Q1 25-26. Tim, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So I'm presenting this on behalf of George, our Buildings and Facilities Manager. Usual format of the report, so there shouldn't be any surprises. There were just 2 things that I wanted to pick out because they are different to previous reports. So firstly, paragraph 3.2 and the various pie charts, it is showing large numbers of cases open in comparison to, for example, last time. So last time we had reactive cases for contractors, shall we say, open 11%. Now it's 93%. For anyone who has compared this report against the last report, there is nothing to worry about. Nothing has changed. The reason for that difference is merely because we are now reporting using much more recent data. So the previous report and reports before that, there was always quite a time lag. So actually by then most jobs had been closed. This is now much more, it's still a bit historic, but more current in terms of the bigger work, and hence it's still showing lots of cases open, but it's not marking a problem in any way whatsoever. And then the second thing I just wanted to flag, this is a new addition to the report. I think there's probably a little bit more work to be done on this. So this is section 5, paragraph 5 of the report, where we are looking at maintenance spend, but also budgets and budget overspend on the LED occupied buildings over the last 5 years. Broadly speaking, what it's showing is that the amount that we are spending across the board on maintenance of those LED occupied buildings is relatively static, at close to sort of 225, edging up to 250. It's also showing that in terms of budget, annually we exceed budget. The nature of the works, they tend to be, bearing in mind this is reactive maintenance, they tend to be it tends to be reactive stuff, so it's when things break, and bearing in mind these are operational buildings, we have to fix them, so hence the budget overspend. There was a rather confusing column in 5.3 which was around income, and just to clarify, income will relate to where we recharge a proportional cost, so dual use sites, and then other sites where we are doing improvements on the other LED occupied sites, we'll get a contribution from LED. So that's the income line. I think it's a good addition to the report, but I think there's probably a little bit further work we can do to just sort of improve that and make that perhaps a little bit more meaningful, perhaps breaking it down by site. But it's a start, but it's an addition. I think they were the two items I wanted to pick up on, so happy to take questions.
Thanks. Tim, just because you're focused on the table, the ones at 5.1 and 5.3, what does the blue dotted line mean, please?
A trend. So it's a trend of the maintenance. Is it? Because it
doesn't seem to match any of the bars.
Certainly, the one in 5.2 does. The 5.2.
Yeah, that's right. I only wanted 5.1 and 5.3.
5.1. I don't know. You're very astute, Sam. I hadn't spotted that. Short answer, I don't know. I assume it's to just mirror the trend, although it doesn't correctly do that because it's plotted on the wrong line. Yeah, I'm just thinking, unless it's the difference. No, exactly the second one. I don't know, Sam.
No, I don't know. That's fine. But I think it probably hits your point. It's a great start. Let's finesse them a bit to work out, to make sure they present some useful info. Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Chair. Just on those that 5.5, shall we say, is the where we're short of money on 5.1, is that made up at 5.3? Does the income we get from LED for their part of it, does that then make up our £50,000 ish where we seem to be short?
No, it doesn't, Ian. No, it doesn't. There's always typically a budget overspend on the LED buildings.
So the total maintenance spend, that is the total, that includes that their 50,000 ish pounds. I'm looking at it, it's a bit over 50,000, but that includes that already, does that? So we're actually only spending 100,000.
How do you calculate 100,000, Ian? Sorry.
Well, so we're spending 175,000, and we're getting in 50 to 75,000 with income. So
yeah, no. So we are. Sorry, Ian. The green's the budget line, the red's the actual. So we're spending near enough around the sort of 230 a year, and the income is around the 50, just over 50,000 per year. But the income is then offsets against the expenditure. But in terms of the budget factors in the income and the expenditure. So we are still about 50k over each year on the budget amount, if that makes sense.
Yep. So the total maintenance spend in 5.1, that includes the money that we get from LED in that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's dual use sites. It's not just LED.
Yeah.
It'll be contributions from schools.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Have we got the correct budget in 5 and 6? I mean, if we're always, for the last 4 years, we've always spent, I don't know, 225.
Yeah.
Surely we must be budgeting 225 in 5 and 6 and onwards. It's a bit of a nonsense to budget a made up lower figure.
It's if George were presenting this, George, I agree with you there. George would very much agree with you. But fundamentally, the way this budget is set, it's based on previous year's budgets with a generally an uplift, typically in recent years to reflect inflation. But rather than there being sort of fundamental reset of the budget. Having said that there's an overspend here, it does then get picked up fairly easily, generally around our wider maintenance budget. So it never seems to cause a big problem. But yeah, in an ideal world, Sam, you'd base the budget on your requirements rather than sort of a fictional amount with an inflationary increase.
Yeah, it just feels like it's an easy one to work out, and let's just tidy it up, because otherwise the reports themselves, like an overspend that's always known overspend isn't an overspend, it's just bad budgeting practice.
If I could just ask, Chair, as well, are these figures accurate? I mean, I've never known a maintenance budget, and the buildings haven't changed, they've just got older, but for 5 years, we spend the same amount. I mean, it seems just with inflation, either we're not doing as many repairs, or this is the only bit that hasn't had any inflation in 5 years.
Doing a really good job.
Well, well, this is obviously it's critical at the moment when we're going through what we're going through to get the information right, because someone's going to be making decisions on this, and I just wonder if it can be accurate or whether this is just.
It is.
Okay.
It's accurate figures, Ian. Fundamentally, the budget has only marginally increased, so therefore we are having to sort of spend within our means as best as we are able to. As I said, there's always that typical overspend, probably to sort of offset some of what you'd expect there to have been an increase in. I suspect probably it comes down to the fact that we've actually invested quite heavily in terms of capital. So we've done lots of improvements, but they come under capital. This is reactive. So the more capital we spend, you'd expect the revenue budget's pressure to come down. So I suspect that's what it is, Ian.
Well done.
Thanks, Tim. Ollie, did you want to add?
Yeah, just a quickie. I just wondered, Tim, whether it might be worth us giving you the numbers we have for the reactive maintenance we actually do ourselves as well. I mean, because obviously, as you know, you talk about an operational building which needs stuff done immediately, and your guys can't often get there straight away, which is understandable. So we maybe some of that, some of the gap would be potentially made worse, but by adding our figures in as well, we've got a ledger of what we spend on reactive maintenance, which would otherwise be council. So we might have that into the mix for future budgeting. For more than anything.
No, I think that'd be useful, wouldn't it? It's good data ultimately to know what the true position is.
I will take away some notes from this particular item and feed them back to George. So one is around refining this section. I think it's a good start, but I think it needs a little more work. And I think George would accept that. And the second bit, yes, thank you, Ollie. It would be useful if we can somehow link in your costings into at least a reference within this report, because that does then represent sort of the totality, when this is only one part of it. So yeah, thank you for the offer.
And can we also add getting the budget right, because it's not about spending more money, we're spending the money regardless, it's just about actually doing a correct budget.
I will make that request to
Simon. If we're still taking out general fund, we're still taking out general fund. Otherwise we're just fudging our numbers at the outset.
I'll provide this feedback to Simon David. Yeah, no, it's something in terms of the wider maintenance budgets, it does all balance out typically. So it's just in terms of certain categories of assets. So it doesn't tend to be a big problem, Sam.
Yeah, and that might be therefore masking that we're underspending in other areas. So it might mean, I don't know. We're clearly fudging something.
It's always good to have a meaningful budget rather than just a figure. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take that away as well.
I've seen those budgeting meetings; they last way too long not to be meaningful. Has anybody got any other feedback on these reports? All right, triple in tongue. On that basis, thank you, everybody. We're going to bring the public part of our consultation meeting to an end. So can I just remind members and all those present that Amanda will confirm when the meeting is no longer recorded or going live, and until then your comments will still be live to the public. And I think some people are